When using Excel, sometimes you need today's date or the current time. Now, unfortunately, there isn't a little let's go to insert on the ribbons and look for date and time and insert it. If we want to insert into a cell today's date or the current time, we either need to think, do I need it to be fixed? So do I need to insert today's date and then for it always to stay the date that we have now? Or do I want to insert today's date and for it to change to today's date every time I open the file, therefore a formula? So there are two ways of getting the date, and the same goes for the time. Two ways of getting the time. Do I want effectively a static time? So I insert the time, it displays, and it remains at that time forevermore. Or do I want to insert a dynamic time, in which case it will always change when I reopen the file or when I refresh the file. Let's look at the static versions first. So to get today's date, I'm just using a blank file here, really called today. Let's go into B1. There is a keyboard shortcut to give you today's date, and that's Control and the semicolon. And you'll see today's date then appears. I just press return to accept that. And it's a fixed value, 9/8/2013. When I open this file tomorrow, it will still say 9/8/2013. If, however, I want this to be dynamic, therefore changing every time I open the file, I use a formula. And that formula is equals today. It requires an open brackets and it requires a closed brackets. But it has nothing in those brackets, unlike our other formulas. When I press return, that gives me exactly the same value as I have in B1, or currently it gives me the same value as I have in B1. If we were to sit and wait for 24 hours until tomorrow, I could then reopen the file. The top one would still say 9/8/2013, but the lower one would say 9/9/2013. It's dynamic, it's a formula. That's equals today or Control semicolon to get you a static value, today's date. What about the time? Well, let's pick on another cell. Control Shift semicolon gives you the current time, and that's pulling through at 9:38 p.m. That's static. That will remain 9:38 p.m. When I close and open the file, it will still say 9:38 p.m. regardless of the actual time at that stage. If I want it to be dynamic and pull the time as it stands when the file is open, then I use another formula, which is equals now. Just like the today one, it requires an open and a closed bracket, but nothing between them. And when I return, I get time. Now, I've also got the date and the time because of the formatting that initially gets added. But if I click back on, go to the drop down for formatting and choose time, I'm then just given time. It also gives me the seconds. If I don't want to see the seconds, I just go back to format, so go into the extra formatting option, choose time, and then I can either go for a 24-hour clock or a 12-hour clock. Well, let's stick with 12 because that's what I got when I did Control Shift semicolon. Okay, and now that says 9:39. This one hasn't changed. This one's moved on. The today formula and the now formula are not like mathematical formulas that will refresh themselves and change whenever the cells that it's looking at change, because these two formulas are not looking at any cells. They will refresh when the file is open. So when you reopen the file, you'll get a new time and potentially a new date if it's a different day. Or on the formula ribbon, we can actually tell the file to calculate again. So I can calculate the sheet or calculate now, which calculates the entire workbook. Well, I've only got these on one sheet, so let's stick with the sheet. I calculate the sheet and you'll see that the time has changed. We've still got the same date, but the time has now moved forward. So that's equals now to get the time, Control Shift semicolon to get the static fixed time, Control semicolon to get static fixed date, and equals today to get today's date. Any of those four cells can be formatted as you would wish to see them, but the raw value underneath them is date or time.